Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt your regularly scheduled programming to bring you this special bulletin. Imagine, if you will, you purchased a game 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year ago, a game you thoroughly enjoy, a nice little single player game, no online components and whatnot, and all of a sudden, a DLC comes out. Let's make some examples. Cyberpunk comes out, and despite the abysmal crashing of the first year, whatever, you're enjoying it, as I was. And you play it, and all of a sudden Phantom Liberty comes out, and you can't play the base game anymore after Phantom Liberty comes out. Or what else? Elden Ring is released. You're enjoying it. You're playing through it, getting everything possible you can, grinding away to get that maximum level. And then Shadow of the Erdtree comes out, and all of a sudden you can't play the base game of Elden Ring. This seems pretty absurd to, well, most normal people, normal gamers out there, but who on earth would do something like that? It appears, surprise, surprise, that this has become Ubisoft's own little marketing, way to get more money out of the customers. But over here on Smash JT, for Avatar of all games, Ubisoft adds DLC to Avatar and forces base game owners to buy it. Because apparently reports are coming out that if you don't buy the DLC, you can't play the base game. See, please, someone help that make sense to me. Let's see what Smash has to say. It's hard to believe, but Ubisoft has yet again found another way to go and outdo themselves, because why would we even be surprised with their sales practices? Oh, I can't even think straight after reading this. Like I said, just imagine you're playing a single player game and you don't have enough to get the DLC just yet, waiting for that next paycheck, or waiting to finish the core game. DLC comes out and, well, sorry, you can't play the core game anymore. Let's keep going. Players of Avatar Frontiers of Pandora are discovering an issue. They're being locked out of the base game save files unless they shell out for the Skybreakers DLC. Ubisoft effectively holding your progress hostage unless you pay extra. Now, if I did read a little bit of the article, we'll get to the pricing of it. And I don't think any sort of pricing is irrelevant if you cannot play the game that you purchased with your hard-earned money because they sent out the DLC that requires payment. I don't care if it's $2, $10, whatever. That's irrelevant. You paid for the game. Where's the justification for locking people out of the base game if they don't have the DLC? Ubisoft effectively holding your progress hostage. Screw the mob. This is modern age extortion. Yes, indeed. If we thought Ubisoft couldn't sink any lower, yeah, think again. Oh, I have a funny feeling, Smash and audience, they have not even gotten as low as they will get in the future. Shout out to Andy Bellin, aka Touch My Penis, on X, who tipped Smash off with the reports that began flooding Reddit shortly after Skybreaker DLC launched. So I've been watching some of your vids. This is from Andy. I've been watching some of your vids and wanted to send you a huge tip that Ubisoft committing outright fraud, and that is what it is. There's no sugarcoating it. It's fraud. You can't do that. At least shouldn't be able to. They made it impossible to play the base Avatar game without buying the DLC, paywalled behind DLC. So here we have a screenshot. Avatar, Frontiers of Pandora. The Skybreaker must be owned and installed in order to play. Now, is that referencing the DLC itself? Or maybe they're just trying to continue with the core game. All sounds awfully familiar to that Star Wars Outlaws bug that required all early access users to start. Oh, I remember that. To start all over fresh again with their progress in a new save file after the update corrupted the future progress of an old save file. Wow. You would think a multi-million dollar AAA studio like Ubisoft would be able to smooth out all the problems and the bugs in the video games that they put out there, but maybe they really genuinely just don't care and are trying to get a cash grab as much as humanly possible before their stock prices completely and totally tank. Can we just go to one day without hearing you boned gamers in a different way? I don't know. Can we go a week, a month, perhaps, let's go a month without hearing about an Ubisoft tragedy concerning one of their IPs. So you need the base game to play the DLC. I don't know what that is. Let's see. The issue going on here isn't isolated either. Players across different platforms have been sharing similar stories. Let's see. This Frontiers of Pandora Reddit can't play base game without buying Skybreaker DLC. Wanted to play Avatar FOP base game, no DLCs today, and I cannot load or continue my game. It says that Skybreaker DLC is needed. What's going on? Have I been scammed by Ubisoft? Well, that was your problem for buying an Ubisoft game. Yes, you are being scammed. I didn't see anything about future DLCs being required to play when buying the game. Now, should we give Ubisoft the benefit of the doubt? It's probably a bug. I'm sure it is. And I actually thought about that before I even read this last part. Even worse, some who bought the DLC to resolve the issue. Whoa. So some people who even bought the DLC to resolve the issue because Ubisoft wants all your money claimed to still have their saves locked and broken. Ubisoft, of course, they responded because they're desperate. Has acknowledged the problem, blaming it on a bug. How about blaming it on a lack of playtesting? Their vague statement assures players that the issue is being investigated. How about you give a refund while you investigate? But they offered no timeline for a fix. So while they twiddled their thumbs and tried to figure out what on earth could have possibly gone wrong, when you could have tested it, maybe, perhaps, before you pushed the DLC out? Like, what sort of quality control is going on at these AAA studios when one game after another, consistently, and sadly to the point where we expect it, and we give excuses of, oh, don't worry, they'll fix it in a future patch. We all know that the game comes out broken. We need to stop expecting that. We need to stop accepting that. Take these AAA studios to task. Stop spending your money. Stop getting the pre-orders. Stop doing that. Wait for reviews. Wait for foolishness to be resolved before you spend your money. Because by then, you can probably get games like, I don't know, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League Deluxe Edition, normally $100. You can get them for $5. Yes, unfortunately, I did that because it was only $5. Moving on. Imagine having an issue unresolved with a company, and after a while, they just go and close it out regardless. One user on Reddit stated, "This is absolutely reeks of fraud." Well, yeah. And honestly, it's hard for me to argue otherwise. It is definitely hard to argue otherwise because what else can you say? Maybe Ubisoft was hoping no one would notice that there was some sort of overblown popularity for Frontiers of Pandora that, well, everybody's just going to naturally buy the DLC when it comes out, right? No worries, no harm, no foul. You know, is it extortion? Is it fraud? Is it incompetence? I do firmly believe it's more incompetence than anything else because it's the most likely excuse. And it is an excuse. And it is incompetence on the part of Ubisoft. Absolutely reeks of fraud. Hard to me argue otherwise when the bug conveniently directs players to spend more money. Well, even though they spend more money, people are still reporting they can't get in to play the game. So again, let's turn right on back to incompetence on the part of the multi-million-dollar AAA studio. To play a game they already own. Let's see. Andy Bellin comes back in. This has been ongoing for 5 months, and Ubisoft refuses to fix it or provide free access to the DLC, which would allow players of the base game to continue playing the base game. This is not new? When was it released? Oh my goodness. 4 months ago? How are we just hearing about this now? My goodness. This is pathetic. So it's a bug that people are aware of, Ubisoft is aware of, and they haven't done anything about it. Whether intentional or not, this debacle feels like yet another cash grab by a desperate company. Ubisoft has a bad reputation for nickel and diming its player base with microtransaction season passes and now apparently DLC paywalls. One of the number one things I heard about one of the Assassin's Creed games where they said, you're not going to need to buy the XP boosters, but they're here if you want them to speed things up. Apparently, there was a point in one of the games that you could only level so far easily in the base game, in the story, and in the quests. And all of a sudden, the rate of XP gained was somehow bottlenecked to the point where it was so slow, they were hoping players would buy the XP boosters out of sheer frustration. Create the problem and sell the solution. Why Ubisoft sucks. Oh, Smash, we know why Ubisoft sucks. So the predatory monetization. Huh. What else do you want to know? Single player games with cosmetics. Huh. Single player games with early access. Paywalled missions that you'll never be able to get 100%. You'll never be able to experience this one little quest over here unless you buy the ultimate pack of this single player game with cosmetics. Let's not pretend this is an isolated incident either. Ubisoft's been in hot water for years. Well, we know that. Gamers are fighting back. Yes, indeed we are. I do believe that more and more gamers out there, we are a bit more hesitant to buy a ticket for the hype train for one game after another that's coming out. More people are waiting for those oh so juicy reviews on whether or not they should or should not buy the game. And the more that happens, the more these studios are going to have to get back to work and release a finished game. You know, back when we were not constantly connected to the internet, or when we bought a single player game and had to be connected to the internet in order to just play the game, the single player game that did not have an online component, but whatever on there. When games did not have to be required to connect to the internet, when we didn't have to put our consoles on the internet, we actually got finished, completed games. What has changed? Are these consoles just so spectacularly complicated that they cannot do proper quality assurance, testing, finding all the bugs out there? Maybe they're trying to be too complicated. I don't know. Whatever the reason, the longer this goes on, the more and more often that gamers are holding tight to their wallet, staying away from the pre-orders, not falling for the hype and waiting for the reviews. These corporations, these AAA studios, so-called AAA or quadruple A studios, are going to have to make an actual good game. Things like this, whatever these little bugs are, where if you didn't buy the DLC, you couldn't play the game. And apparently, even if you did buy the DLC, you still couldn't play the game. Corrupted save files and whatnot. These are things that should be fixed before launch. Whatever studios out there that will be able to solve this problem the fastest will probably gain more goodwill from the gamers. But yet one more problem for Ubisoft's plummeting stock prices and reputation, that where it's been for years, I don't know. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Leave a like, leave a dislike, do all those nifty little things that YouTubers beg you to do. And I hope to see you on the next one.